Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Hi guys, welcome to episode 19. We are so happy you are listening. Today's episode is all about the hidden lessons behind traveling. We covered so many different topics, whether it may be traveling a town over or traveling to a new country, we covered it. And we even shared personal stories about when we did our cross-country trip, the lessons that we learned along the way. So we hope you enjoy this episode. Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. Today we are talking all about the lessons of traveling. And when you actually leave your comfort zone, leave the place that you're so used to living in, that's when magic happens.
It is. And I want to emphasize here, it's valuable to travel physically, like throughout Earth and the different states and countries and all that. But also remember to travel inward too, which a lot of our other podcast episodes, that's exactly what they're about, is developing the inner game. But on this episode, we're going to talk about the value of traveling the physical reality.
Which is so important, and I feel like it's underrated, actually. Even traveling, so Tony and I, as you know, we're both from different places. So Tony's from the St. Louis area, I'm from the Boston area. We both live in Tampa. But even if we drive 1 hour out of the way, or even a half an hour, and we go to St. Pete or Sarasota, it's a different energy. It's a completely different perception. So I think that's important to think about too. You don't need to be traveling out of the country to get the experience that we're talking about.
Absolutely. So as some of you know, Lindsay and I, we travel up to Boston and St. Louis a lot, like she was saying. But when we are here, we do take those hour trips. And I found, like in my experience, like if I'm at one place too long, I feel stagnant in my creativity and my imagination. It's just not as sharp. But when we take an hour trip to Sarasota, or a 4-hour trip to Miami, or a 2-hour trip to St. Augustine, or whatever, or hour trip to Orlando, anytime we do that, my creativity and my imagination starts to hit peak levels again.
Yeah, I feel like that too. Whenever we have to shake something up, we do that.
Yes.
Even traveling from our house to a coffee shop to get work done can make you think differently. So if you're an entrepreneur listening to this too, you'll really understand with workflow, it's important to actually leave your comfort zone to get new ideas.
Absolutely it is. Yeah, so traveling to the different coffee shops, traveling to, if you go to the same mall a lot, like maybe try a different mall in a different part of town. I know when I lived in St. Louis, I lived in St. Charles, which is within St. Louis. Even when I was in high school, I would always drive out to a place called Chesterfield, or another place called the West County area. And those were about 30 minutes away. And I did this instinctively because I knew that when I was getting out of St. Charles, which is the city I grew up in and I was always surrounded by, when I was able to get out of there, it was like I was able to see clearly again.
Yeah.
And it was a fresher experience. So, and that was only a half hour away.
Yeah.
Those cities. So
it's something to think about, because I know some people listening might say, well, what if we don't have the money to travel? Or what if we don't have this to travel? Or what if we have kids? You know, there's always going to be some sort of excuse on why you can't do something that you want to do. But you really do have to think outside of the box and know that you can use the resources of what you have in front of you.
Yes, and if you have that problem, watch our podcast episode called Abundance is a Mindset.
Yes.
Because your money is your mindset. So if you don't have the physical money in your bank account right now to travel or to do anything or to even take a trip an hour away or a half hour away, go watch that episode and start to develop your mindset. And what will happen is, as you start to believe and play with this idea of traveling in your imagination, and you really believe it as you're doing it, and the only way you can believe it as you're doing it is if you continually do it. That's how the imagination works. So the more that you do something, the more your imagination will start to believe it. So then you keep doing this, then what will happen, the same way that happened with me and Lindsay's life, is you'll start to draw all of these opportunities to travel really anywhere you want.
Yeah. And it does happen. It's kind of
sounds,
shocking how fast it can happen.
It sounds like it's fake, but I mean, I know that all the people watching our podcast, they believe this, but maybe they were like me and you, to where they have to do, a little bit more, I would say, work and figuring out what money blockages and what travel blockages they have in their unconscious. Because I know before 2008, I traveled on a plane twice, and that was like, I'm talking about like to a place and back. Mm-hmm. So like that's the twice. It was one destination. So like at that time, I had travel blockages, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I had something in my unconscious that was blocking my ability to travel, and it wasn't money. Like some people would look back and say, oh, it's because you didn't have money. No. Once again, your mindset is your money. So if I would have knew about this idea back in high school and middle school, I believe I would have attracted, traveling to different states, traveling to different countries a long time ago, because that's just how it works.
And if you can find money to go to like a corner store and get a soda each week, then you can find time to save up some money to get you to wherever you need to go.
Absolutely. People will find money for what they truly value as well. And I hope that after you watch this episode of traveling, that you start to value traveling more, because that's what this is all about.
Yeah, it is.
Me and Lindsay and I have so many stories on people that we've met on our journey traveling. And a lot of times it was the people that we were sitting next to on the plane.
Yeah. Yes, we've had interesting experiences. And it's because of the frequency, because this can happen all of the time. Like you can have amazing information come through you and around you and become aware of amazing people even in your hometown. But once you're on that different frequency, if you shift your frequency, that's when that serendipity type event will come up, and you'll start to notice things working in your favor. It's always happening around you, but it's just paying attention to that. And you spoke about something that came to my mind, and then I lost it, and I don't know what it was.
Well, it will come back. I think it will.
Okay, you have something you want to say?
No, I was going to say it will come back. I was just saying, in the meantime, let's talk about that frequency.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to talk about?
Yeah, we can do that.
So I was saying, let's talk about that frequency that you start to get on as you travel. Mm-hmm. I know us living here in Tampa, Florida, if we go to Clearwater Beach or St. Pete Beach, we could feel that vibe instantly, because it has that vacation vibe to it. Why? Because the people that are there, most of them are on vacation, so they're putting out that energy, and it's a totally different vibe. And I feel like it's a vibe to where when you're in your hometown, it's like you're in this shell, and it's your comfort zone, I would call it, and you just stay in it. Like you go to work, you come home, you bring your kids to soccer, you do all of this stuff, and you never escape that shell. So you only see inside that shell. And as soon as people take their 2-week vacation,
that's what I was going to say.
They come out of their shell, and it's like a whole new world's open to them. And I feel like then you start to draw new people to you, new conversations. Sometimes you're more social than what you normally would be at home. Maybe at home in your hometown, you're an introvert, and that's how everybody in your hometown sees you. But then when you travel, it's like you're this new person and you're on fire. And
it's not the actual place. It's you yourself are giving yourself permission to be yourself, because I'm just here for a little bit. Nobody knows how I used to be or how I am at home. But then your truth comes out. So that can happen. But that reminded me of the 2 weeks thing. A lot of people have to wait, and I've spoke about this in another episode, don't know which one it was. They wait for that 2-week vacation to actually enjoy themselves. And when you wait for once a year to go on a 2-week vacation or a week vacation, that's, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be able to do it. Because I do like to travel. Some people like to be at home, and that's good too. But I think being aware that you can create this new habit of shifting up the energy.
And let's just clarify what you just said for a second. I believe everybody loves to travel. Yeah. I believe that the people that say they don't, they're saying that from a space of fear that they can't travel.
Yeah.
And what I mean by this is not everybody loves to travel as much as Lindsay and I. Like, we travel often. That would wear a lot of people out. It actually wears us out sometimes. But what I mean is everybody loves to travel a certain amount that's good for them. If you really ask them, you said, hey, if you had, here's $1 billion in a briefcase. What do you want to do? How do you want to live your life? Most people would travel at least a little bit. I believe that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? It's a beautiful planet.
A fear.
I believe it. That's what I believe. I believe it all stems from fear that they can't travel. Because I used to have that. And
I think it's another thing too, though. I don't feel like it's just fear of traveling because of finances and that kind of thing too. But I feel like it's fear of the unknown, being in a new place, thinking, oh my gosh, what if I forget something at home? Or, what if something doesn't feel safe and that sort of thing. So I think that's the thing that really stops us when it comes to like pushing outside of our comfort zone in general, but especially when you leave the place that you're in.
That's a great point.
But I do want to talk and touch on, we know how important it is to travel because we've talked about it, throughout this episode so far, but the lessons that come up with travel. Tony and I did a cross-country trip, was it 2 summers ago?
It was 2 summers ago.
Okay, 2 summers ago.
We've done trips like every summer, but the one you're talking about is 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
Where we went all the way in a circle.
Yeah, we started in Tampa.
2 summers ago.
Okay, and then we went to California, and then we went to St. Louis, and then we went to Boston, then we came back down to Florida. And along that way, we were traveling for was it 2 or 3
55 days.
Okay, you remember.
Or 52 days. It was like 50 something, I remember.
Yeah, and we brought Romeo, and we drove our car, and we had such an awesome experience. And I remember before we left, Tony's like, I want to drive through Texas. And I'm like, I don't think that we should. And he's like, no, it's going to be fine. But at that point, there were tons and tons of floods and everything else. And actually, Tony has more fear about floods than I do. But in this situation, I kept saying, I just feel like we shouldn't go through Texas.
Well, the floods were like 2 months before, and there was still a possibility they could happen again.
Well, some places had them.
But I really want to go to Texas.
He was very stubborn about wanting to go.
When you have a desire to do something, I guess that overpowers that fear. Because I do have a fear of water. I don't know what made me say, yeah, let's still go. So we went and...
Well, you actually called... So I'm like, why don't you call up the hotel in the area that we were going through? I don't know if it was Houston or...
You ended up calling the hotel.
Was it me? Okay. I called, and the lady on the phone's like, oh yeah, everything's fine here, blah, blah, blah. It's totally fine. So I'm like, why don't we just go around and go through Oklahoma? And I think you were like, there's tornadoes there, maybe.
Well, I might have said that. I really want to go to Texas.
Okay, Texas.
That's what it was.
So we went through Texas. The moment we got to the Texas sign that said, welcome to Texas.
Literally, the sign said, welcome to Texas.
Okay, and what happened?
You go.
It was downpouring. Like
immediately 5 minutes later, just the ocean poured down on us.
And I was driving, I'm like, oh my gosh.
No,
I think you were driving. And I said, okay, maybe we should pull over and stay at a hotel.
Yeah, Lindsay's very picky with hotels. Like, you call her a hotel snob. I don't blame her. I am now too.
Yeah, I would rather be clean.
You stay in a nice hotel, you don't ever want to stay in other hotels.
No.
But anyways, my point of saying that is, we're driving right after we see that sign. 5 minutes later, it starts raining. We see the Texas sign, it starts raining. And then we're driving, and there's like a motel, like a cheap motel on the side of the road. It might have been, I forget the name. It looked
very run down.
But it was run down, and Lindsay's like, oh, we can stay there tonight. Like, instantly. But as I went to go get off, I noticed that the exit ramps were flooded already. And part of the streets over there. So I was like, so I had to keep driving. And anyways,
the lesson...
It was so scary. But I just kept driving through it because I knew that I had to just keep going. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And then 10 minutes later...
It stopped.
The rain stopped and we were fine. But literally, during those 10 minutes, the road started flooding. I would say maybe about that high.
Yeah, you don't even know.
But we didn't know how much higher it was going to get.
Yeah, because when you're in your own city, you kind of know what to expect, what roads are, what they're going to look like. But when you see on the news what Texas could look like... during a flood, and it is raining outside right now. Funny. I know. So the lesson in that is pay attention to your intuition, I would say, when you're traveling. And we usually do a good job. We always actually miss the main storms. Mm-hmm. Like, we've missed tornadoes. We've missed different situations that have come up in cities. Hurricanes. Yeah, I don't know if there was like a bombing thing.
And you can say that we were lucky too, but we trusted our intuition on our travel routes. We do. And I think that is a big point. And our intuition at that point, because at that point we were in New Orleans and we were trying to figure out, do we go to Oklahoma or Texas before we head to Albuquerque? Mm-hmm. So our intuition at that point being honest. It was telling us to go up to Oklahoma and go around and miss Texas this trip. But
when Tony has something on his mind, then he wants to do it at that moment.
I'm learning, though. I'm learning to trust even the things that I really want to do. If my intuition's telling me different, I'm like, the time's not right.
Yeah.
We ended up being fine, obviously. There were several other lessons on that road trip.
I know.
I mean,
we actually made a list of them.
We did, and we're actually going to create a vlog, but we haven't created. We were supposed to create it 2 years ago, but
we started it, and then
we have so many different things we were doing that got to put on the back burner. But anyways, other lessons is, look, if you could go on a 50-something day road trip with anybody and come out alive and not wanting to kill each other. Actually, we wanted to kill each other certain times, and still be together after that. I feel like it's one of the best bonding things you could do with your wife or friend or anybody. Because, like, I've taken small road trips with friends, and it tests your friendship in a way because when you're stuck inside of a metal box with somebody, there's no more sugar coating after 5 hours. Like, it's like, no, this is straight to the point. You tell people exactly how you feel. That's another lesson of traveling, too. Once you get out and you just start going and you're on a journey like Christopher Columbus, it's like, no. Like, we are going here. Like, there's no sugar coating. We have to get here, and blah, blah, blah. But anyways.
And I feel like, too, there was a video that I made it was at the top of a mountain. Was it in Colorado?
Boulder.
What did I say during that video? It was a lesson that I learned. I feel like when you're rising, like when you're actually rising up, there's different points of resistance that you can feel. So that's something that was a lesson in travel too. When we were traveling for that long, we were really in a different feeling, like a different frequency. We were excited. We were high vibe. And I think it makes people sometimes feel uncomfortable too if you notice that you're not doing those things and you want to. So the lesson is to do exactly what you want so that you don't you're not resistant with other people doing the things that they want.
Absolutely. Because that is what happens. And we're talking about traveling here, but if it's anything, if somebody's doing something that you really want to do and you're not doing it, it's human nature. You're going to feel that resistance.
Yeah.
And whether you act on it or not, that's up to you. If you're aware, you're not going to act on it because you understand, no, this is just human nature, and this means that I need to take action. This has nothing to do with them. They're not the reason why I feel this. But some people, when they feel that resistance, they want to attack you.
Yeah.
Because they feel like you're the one that's causing this resistance. When all you're doing is just living your life, traveling, and when they see you traveling, it pisses them off because they want to travel and they're not traveling. So,
right. And another lesson that's not having to do with that is on our travel, when we weren't getting enough sleep and we weren't staying hydrated and eating right, you could feel the difference.
Yes.
So that lesson in itself with traveling and also living your life here on Earth is so important. And having your own space, energy, your atmosphere, your environment is huge. So when we travel, we do need to take time out for ourselves too. So when you're around a lot of people, a lot of different groups of people, it's easy to keep go, like you just keep on going, but you have to build in that time for yourself.
Right, and you're talking more specifically like us. We'll go back to Boston and stay a month, or we'll go to St. Louis and stay a month or two or whatever. And just because we're in town, it doesn't mean we have to go and see people every day, because then if you do that, you're so exhausted, you're not even enjoying the moment with the person you're with. So,
and I feel like at certain points I did that. I was trying to squeeze everything in and see everyone, and it wasn't satisfying to anyone because no matter how much I tried to give, it wasn't enough for myself. Like I couldn't do enough, and I felt like nobody felt like that feeling of importance because I was just trying to keep on going.
Yes.
So I think just doing what it is that's best for you will end up being fine in the end.
Exactly.
And not feeling guilty about it, because that's something that can happen too. Especially if you live out of state and you're like trying to see everyone.
So really going back to our one of our previous episodes of being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a people pleaser. Like you're already you have to take care of you first. Mm-hmm. That way you can, when you are with the people that you love, you can really enjoy the moment. Because what's the point if you're hanging out with everybody and you're not enjoying really there present because you're so tired and exhausted, it's really it's going the opposite way at this point.
Right. Another life lesson that connects to travel, but is for life, is when you're traveling, you're also finding that maybe some people will want to reach out to you and some people don't. So my lesson for that is, do not push yourself on people. If they don't want to see you, then take it as, okay, I'm not going to push this. So I feel like in life, it's important not to feel like you're pushing someone to spend time. Don't you agree?
Yeah, that's huge.
And I think that's like a really big lesson that I learned even with traveling. It's funny because the people that you want to see, that you want to spend time with, sometimes they could be busy too and you can't take it personal. But then the people that you're like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to have time to kind of fit that in. It kind of like is like a double-edged sword with that. There's like always something happening. It's like it's balance. It really is about balance.
It is. So let's clarify a few things. Like, I feel like what has traveling done for me?
Okay, go.
And what has traveling done for you?
You start.
Ladies first.
I don't know what I'm going to say. Okay.
I know what I'm going to say. I'll
go
first. Go. So traveling, what it has done for me. Why do I find it so valuable? I kind of already spoke a little bit about this during this episode, but let's just clarify a little bit. So the reason why I travel is because, for one, like I said, it sparks my imagination and my creativity. I feel like how a bird feels when I imagine how a bird feels when the bird's flying. It's like free. Like when I'm in the car and I'm on the open road, I feel so free. I feel like my energy is flowing like the Colorado River flows through the Grand Canyon. Really.
You were just
I was
there,
just
so
at
you
the Grand Canyon, so that's why I start to imagine that as I said that. The Grand Canyon's amazing if you haven't been there. Let me go to that story. Okay. That is amazing. I'll get back to that story. I had a crazy spiritual experience at the Grand Canyon, and I bet some of you have too, because that is a high energy place, and it does something to your soul. So that's another reason why I like traveling, is you start to notice the different vibes of each city, of each landscape, because they all have different vibes. Like nature vibrates at the purest, highest frequency, but I feel like they all have their own energetic blueprint, signature frequency. The Grand Canyon has its own, Sedona has its own, which is in Arizona. Tampa Bay has its own, Clearwater Beach has its own, Cape Cod, and every place all over the world has their own energetic blueprint. And when you go there, you become part of its energetic blueprint even more. I wouldn't say you become part of it because you're always part of it, but it's like a reconnection.
Yeah, and that energy is within you. Once you go to that space, you're never the same.
It unlocks it within you and it releases it, and then it forever is, you bring it everywhere you go.
And it also is a conversation starter too. When we talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, I was just in Sedona, and we could actually say, oh, we've been there too. And it builds up relationships just by having that experience and that culture.
It really does.
Do you want to say anything else about what you learned from traveling?
Yeah, and really just into my life, it helps my career, it helps my relationships, it helps my health. It helps everything in my life because everything flows, and I feel like my relationships flow more, my personality flows more. When I'm on the road and traveling, I'm not like second guessing myself as much as I would be when I get at home. Because when I stay in one city for too long, it feels like everything gets congested and clouded. And I guess I don't know. I feel like everybody feels that way at certain points, and then you just got to shake it up.
Yeah, definitely. So. And for me, when I go to each place, I can take away like a little piece of culture. Like I feel like the culture and like being around the people. I know when I went to Italy with my friend Kelly, just going there and being in a new space, it really did push us out of our comfort zone because we didn't speak Italian. But when we went there, we actually could see everything became more vibrant. The colors were brighter. The just walking down the street became exciting. And I think it sparks something. It brings life to you. And when I was going through a really difficult time in 2007, traveling actually helped me move my energy. So it kept me going and just knowing that, okay, so I'm going to write a list of places that I want to go. I'm going to do those things, and it kind of helped move the energy for me. So I can really, really connect to travel being something that really will shift my spirits if I need it, but also add life into more of my life. So I think that's important. And when I went to Sedona, and I know you have your Sedona story, I kept on feeling like when I went there, I wanted to write again because there was a part of me that stopped writing. I felt like my mind was all over the place, but there's something about the clear energy of Sedona where you can actually clearly think. There's less pollution. Like you feel like you could breathe. If you can imagine being on a snowy day, that silence, that quietness in the snow, when you make a snow angel, that's that same feeling in Sedona for me. And I forgot, you wanted to talk about the Grand Canyon, not Sedona, but...
No, it's okay. And that is so true. Like in Arizona, even I was just there visiting one of my good friends in Scottsdale, and the air there is just like really, I guess they call it dry air, but it's like at night when we're riding our bikes, I felt like I was in an oxygen tank. I kept telling my friend Corey that. I was like, I feel like I'm in an oxygen tank. Like I feel so awake right now.
Yeah.
And everything was so clear.
And I think you can appreciate there. Gratitude is so much stronger when you leave too, because you go to this place and you feel gratitude, and then you come home and you feel gratitude for your space too.
You do. Every place makes you appreciate every other place.
Yeah.
So it's like you go to here in Tampa Bay or go to Clearwater Beach and you look at the ocean, beautiful. You go to the mountains in Colorado next week, beautiful. And then you come back to the ocean. It's going to make the ocean look that much more beautiful, and it's going to make the mountains look that much more beautiful because everything's relative. You don't know if something's beautiful unless you have something ugly next to it. So it's like that's how it works. I know it sounds like so cliche and philosophical, but it's just the truth. And It's like I noticed once I left St. Louis and started traveling a lot, I started to appreciate St. Louis even more.
Mm-hmm. And if you go to Maui Beach and then you go to Florida Beach, it's a totally different energy. It could look the same. Like it might look the same if you look out at the water, even though I don't feel like they look the same.
It doesn't look the same, but I know what you're saying it could.
It's on an energetic level that you can actually feel, and you will never be the same. And if you're listening to this as a medium, traveling is so important if you're a medium or you're a psychic, because it's building up references for you. Because that's one of the things that I get during my readings is I get location. So if I am giving a psychic reading to a business owner or to just anyone in life, I'll be shown the places that they're going to travel or they just came back from. It's very easy for me because I've been to those places. In mediumship, same thing. I feel like drawn to a certain part of the world. But you don't have to travel to get that information. It's just an added bonus.
Yeah, you could go to Google and do
I know, really.
All kinds of different places. But there's nothing like actually experiencing it. One last thing before we get off here.
You want to say the story.
Oh, so the story. So one thing I wanted to say is pay attention who you're sitting to on the airplane. Start to talk to them and you will find that you're sitting next to them for a reason. I've had the craziest experiences with the people sitting next to me, all down to their birth date matching one of my friend's birthdays who's passed away, and them giving me signs from my friend, to like so many different specific things. Pay attention to who you're sitting next to on the train or on an airplane, or really everywhere you go. Pay attention who's next to you because they're there for a reason. And when you start to talk, you'll find those commonalities. So going back to the Grand Canyon, so I don't know if I have time to get into that.
I know.
But I will. I'll make a video about this experience. I actually planned on doing it because we're running out of time here. But go to the Grand Canyon, go to Arizona, high frequencies, go to all these different places and allow these high frequency experiences to happen in your life. And it's going to change something inside of you that I can't even put words on right now.
Yeah, no way. You can't.
So how should we close
the
this
lesson
out here?
for this, or not even the homework assignment for you, is to write down a couple places that you want to go to. Go on Pinterest, start pinning those places, start getting some pictures of those places, and feel the energy through the photo, and really get excited about it and know that you can go there, but start getting clear on where you actually want to go. And then if you do travel to a certain place, or you have traveled in the past and you understand what we're saying, share with us.
Yes, and my last tip before we close out here is start visualizing in clear detail with what Lindsay was saying. Before you go to sleep at night, see it, feel it. That's what I did back in 2008. I started visualizing the ocean, and then bada bing, within 2 years, I live by the ocean, and I've seen a lot of different beaches around the United States and soon the world. So very grateful, and I hope that you guys got value out of this episode.
Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you next time.
Talk to you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.